All right, we are gonna start on our next perspective drawing. So we're gonna make these cool perspective shapes, these forms. I'm gonna start with a couple different size squares, but instead of just having it be a normal square, I'm gonna actually make it into a frame, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I may have some larger ones, maybe some can be more shaped like a rectangle. So each one I'm having to be like a picture frame. I'm also going to add my vanishing point so I can know kind of where these are going to all lead, because we're still using our vanishing point to create 3D forms. So 1, 2, 3. I do a big one out here. 4. If you want to have it nice and neat and perfect, you can use the ruler for that. I'm just having mine be a little bit sketchy. 1, 2, 3. I'll do a small one over here. Each one I am doing a smaller of the same shape inside, so it kind of gives that look of like a picture frame. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna do the same thing we did to make our 3D shapes, only this time, instead of erasing the rest of my guidelines, I'm actually gonna leave these in to make it look like this cool kind of shape coming towards us out of the page, right? So I'm lining up each corner that's closest to my vanishing point. So this one's gonna go right on the corner of that one. That's okay. I'll tighten that up a little bit. Okay, so that one's gonna be pretty close to being the same line as that. That's okay. Line up that corner, this corner. Now, when I have a couple next to each other, that's where it's gonna get tricky. See how this corner, when I line it up, it's actually gonna go through this square. So I wanna make it look like it's going behind that square. So I'm gonna draw it. I'm gonna stop when I get to that square, and I'm gonna continue on the other side. Okay, so you can see how it goes kind of between it. Oh, and actually, I wouldn't even see that, would I? Let's erase that, because this would all be tucked behind it. So we'll erase up to that point. Tidy up these lines a little bit. Something kind of like this, like that. So this will actually continue on behind this shape. And I want to make sure I get this final shape over here, but it's also going to be behind that floating shape, right? So I'm going to draw it up to there and be done. All right, I got those, got that. Let's work on this one. And this is actually going to be a similar line too. That's okay. One up here. And my little guy over on this side, lining up the corners to my vanishing point. All my lines are converging to this one line here. Snug that a little bit. All right. Okay, so get these nice and tidy. All right, so next step is going to be adding the value. All right, so in order to add value to these cool looking shapes, I want them to look like they're a tunnel, so they're open on the inside. So what I'm gonna actually do, I'm gonna work on this big one first, is I'm gonna line up this corner also to the vanishing point, but it's not gonna go all the way. It's going to just cut through to the other side. Do you see that? Now it looks like I can walk into that tunnel, okay? And so the trick is how we shade it if it's gonna look realistic, okay? So here are some drawing pencils. So each one of these drawing pencils is a little bit different shade, right? Some are darker, some are lighter. So the 6B is gonna be really dark. So I'm gonna actually start with this one because I want my tunnel to be kind of darker inside here, like it's going down into the tunnel. So I'm gonna push kind of heavy right here, get it really dark, kind of low into what would be inside the tunnel. Okay, so there's my 6B. I'm gonna then change to maybe like an HB, an H, something like that, so it's a little lighter. And I'm gonna add a layer of that kind of near. Just kind of adding some pencil down, because what I'm gonna do is use my blending stump. So a blending stump are these white things, they're made of paper, and they're really awesome for adding shading and shadow. So what I can do is, I have to have pencil down first or it won't work. So when I put my pencil down, I can rub across the top, and do you see how it starts to act as a blender? It's shading it in, making a nice shadow, more even than if I were to just draw it and leave it. Okay, so then I'm getting lighter as I come out. Something similar to that, okay? I can then even press a little harder, trying to get rid of some of those lines. I might come back with my 6B and outline this so it's a little neater. Right, so we got the inside of our tunnel touched up with some of our shadows, something like that. Okay, I want to do the same thing for the outside. So I'm actually going to come down in here, add some of this 6B. Okay, and then I might go, I've got 2B, which is a little lighter. And then what else? Let's do some H, even lighter. So I'm essentially making a value scale, right? That's the, shows the steps of the scales getting darker, the color getting darker. I should say the shades getting darker, tints and shades. So I'm just working my way up. Okay, I might even leave some of this white because when I use my blending stump, I'm going to kind of pull this way. Shading this in, blending it, making it look nice and even, so I don't even see those pencil lines in there. Okay, and so the good thing about using a blending stump is it's not like the same as your finger, because you can get into these little cracks, one, and two, it doesn't put your oil from your skin into the paper, which then makes those things really hard to erase. Like once your skin oils get on the paper, it's not as easy to erase it. So I can come in and make really nice clean lines right here with my eraser. I'm almost drawing with my eraser. Okay. Then I can come in too and add, touch up these lines, just make them a little more defined. Touch up that line going back. Okay, and then I have this really cool form or cube, right? That looks like it's kind of going back into space. Almost looks like a floating tunnel. I can touch up this, touch up this, right? Okay, so there's one. And then I'm gonna work on the rest of them and I will show you a picture when I'm all done. All right. Can't wait to see what you come up with. All right, so our next step is adding the value. So you can see in this one, I already added it. We're gonna use our drawing pencils here. And if you remember, the B's are darker and the H's are lighter. So I'm gonna start with like a 2B or a 6B, right? to get that really dark value. Okay, so I did this one. You'll notice it starts off light and it goes dark as it goes away. Same with inside here. To make it look like it's going into the tunnel, I want to add a dark value and then medium and then light. Okay, so I'm going to do that same thing here at the top. And I also want to make sure that I line up this corner on the inside of my tunnel here with the vanishing point. So it's going to look like this, like it's going back into space. Make sure I have that there. Okay, so then I'm going to add my value here, dark, and I'm using my 6B pencil. Then I'm going to add some of this value inside my tunnel, not on the frame part, the square edge. Okay, then I'm going to move up to maybe like my H, which should get much later. And some H in here. So I'm creating that value scale on these boxes, inside and out. Okay, and then I'm gonna use my blending stump. I might not even need a second or third pencil. And I'm gonna rub along where I laid down my pencil. And you can see it's turning it into a nice shade, shadow. Smoothing it out. And remember, the blending stump only works when you have pencil down, right? Or if I have start to get a lot of pencil on the tip, it could work that way too. So blend the inside of my tunnel. Okay, and I'm gonna keep doing this around the whole thing. I could also add, use my eraser, touch up the shadows a little bit. It's almost like drawing with my eraser, okay? All right, I'm gonna speed it up here and show you a couple more ways to do it.